Carson talks, but his eyes are always on the coils to see where they are going next. The funniest part is when the snake wraps around Johnny and he has to keep his host voice steady while his body language says, "and this." It's the clash between the calm TV rhythm and real physical pain. What does it weigh, about 50-60 pounds? She weighs about, she, applause, Python weighs enough that Carson actually has to brace under the weight. Joan acts like this is totally normal, which makes Johnny's careful movements even funnier. He tries to maintain that Carson charm, but the snake is actively exploring his torso. People in the audience watch as he talks about how he slowly got trapped. Joan Embury, the chimp coordinator. The chimp doesn't behave nicely while sitting on the couch. It climbs, pokes around, and treats Johnny like he's part of the show. Carson stays calm, but the section turns into a live battle between being interested and staying in control. As the chimp keeps trying to make jokes like this as normal conversation, Johnny is turned into a human playground. This is the funniest part. Confused from a person. It looks like he hit a door. People in the room laugh because Carson can't take back control without looking scared. The chimp has no concept of personal space or talk show etiquette. It grabs Johnny's glasses, tie, and anything else it can get its hands on. The chimp is stuck on Carson because it thinks it is the most interesting thing in the room, even though Joan tries to move it. The only thing stopping Johnny from just getting up and leaving is his professionalism. Despite being surprisingly strong, he keeps the conversation going while controlling the curious monkey. Which part of the story made you laugh the most? Let us know which one you like below, and if you're liking it so far, click the like button. Let's watch the movie again. Joan Embury is an expert on koalas. When Johnny holds a koala, he learns right away that the animal has its own ideas for the section. The koala clings like it's moved in permanently while Carson keeps smiling through the stuck-in-place awkwardness. The funniest moment is when Joan has to pry the koala off because it won't release him. He's not in any hurry, right? He knows that everything moves very slowly. They don't change how they look. But why again? Why? Why? Making a cute moment into a kidnap situation that happens slowly. It's funny because the gentler the animal looks, the more trapped Johnny seems. It's impossible to get the koala off of Carson's jacket because its claws are stuck in it. Johnny tries to talk more, but fuzzy stubbornness stops his arms from moving. The crowd thinks it's cute, but Carson sees it as a prison. Joan pulls gently, but the koala has decided this human is home now. Carson's face shows him doing mental math on how long he can hold this pose before his arms give out. What a great contrast between the animal's sweetness and Johnny's very real physical pain. He jokes about adopting it, but his eyes plead for rescue. The segment stretches longer than planned because nobody wants to hurt the koala by forcing the issue. Carson said it was the cutest jail sentence he had ever had. The awkward angle hurt his back, but he kept the smile on his face. Because of the koala's sweet face, Johnny couldn't show anger without looking like a monster. Joan finally gets the removal done, and Johnny looks relieved even though he tries to hide it. The audience loved watching America's coolest host get completely dominated by something that weighs 3 pounds, the rooster. The real-life disaster. A rooster arrives like it's just quirky Americana and Carson plays along like it's harmless. Then the bird does what birds do, which is to land on the holy furniture. The funniest part is when Johnny processes the beat after it is over. The crowd goes crazy, and the segment quickly stops being about the rooster and starts being about the mess. The comedy is that nobody can pretend it didn't happen. Carson's face goes through several stages of realization as he understands what just occurred on his desk. It's pretty scary, isn't it? It is, yes. I'm sorry about that. The rooster just stands there, as if this was always supposed to happen. Ed McMahon starts laughing, which breaks whatever professional composure Carson was clinging to. The crew scrambles off stage trying to figure out cleanup protocol during a live taping. Johnny has to continue hosting while avoiding the contaminated zone, which limits his desk real estate. He makes jokes, but they're clearly coping mechanisms for an unprecedented situation. The rooster just keeps being a rooster, and the person who is in charge of it looks embarrassed. Fans won't let Carson move the interview along, even though he tries. They start up again every time he looks at the desk. This part of the show becomes famous because it was so unplanned and rude. Johnny later said that the moment was what made him remember. It's not possible to fully control live TV. The rooster video has been played over and over for years, and it has become a slang term for when animals mess up a talk show. Carson handles it with ease, but you can see him screaming inside. The fact that it happened on his sacred desk, his command center, makes it even funnier. At home, viewers see one of TV's most polished hosts deal with everyday life in a barn. Jim Fowler, the beetle surprise. Fowler pulls out a big beetle and treats it like a calm show subject until the subject learns it can fly. Carson goes from being interested to saying, "Please don't launch at me." When the beetle took off, it made the desk look like a small panic zone because flying bugs take away all respect. "I pick him right here." Yes, just pick him up and put him back where he came from. That's all you have to do. In fact, he doesn't have any mandible for eating. Yes, that's right. Wait a minute. Johnny's jokes land harder because they're clearly self-defense. Because it is so big, the beetle sounds like a small helicopter when it flies. San Francisco is where I left my heart. I know, just because Johnny likes that one. Ha! Okay. I took my heart away. Music, when people think of Johnny Carson, they think of Don Rickles or Joan Rivers. But some of the most memorable moments came from animals that didn't take orders. They say if you look an animal right in the face and talk to them, you say then they know you're not scared. Here are the 15 funniest animal clips from Johnny Carson. Baboon punches Carson. Applause. Fowler walks in as calmly as ever, but it's clear that the baboon doesn't care about how to behave on TV. The funniest moment is when the baboon pops Johnny in the face and his professional smile turns into genuine shock. Punch me right in the mouth. He's all right. He just playing. Please give me a straight right, monkey. Johnny joked backstage. For decades, I've been insulted by comedians, but never by a primate. The bat handler is Jim Fowler. Santa Smith. Applause. This one starts like a standard animal demo, then immediately turns into nobody's in control anymore. When the bat finally gets loose and the piece turns into a live scramble with Johnny trying to keep the mood light is the funniest part. He hit me with a bat. A big bat. Okay, Jim has one more. You got one. Let's see something nice and gentle. Carson told his crew, next time Fowler brings something with wings, get me a helmet. Joan Embry, the cheetah wrangler. They say if you look an animal right in the face and talk to them then they know you're not scared. Embry brought out cheetahs expecting trained behavior. But they made it clear that wasn't going to happen. When they go for another bite at Carson after he came back from the first bite is the funniest part. We brought them back because they are going back. Don't bring them back because they'll get bigger, right? Okay. They're going back. The next time, they'll eat my face. Betty White, the elephant guide, later said, "I've never felt more aware that I'm made of meat than when I was sitting next to those cats." You ready to go to work? Betty walks out feeling very calm, but the elephant becomes the star right away, and Johnny has to host around it. The funniest part is when the elephant gets too close to Johnny and he has to calm down without losing his cool. She says that roughhousing with an elephant is not okay. Sure. Tell her to leave you. Carson told Betty afterward. You make this show's chaos the calmest. It's a present. Joan Embry, who worked with marmosets. Well, I can't sit here. With an animal on my head, I can't talk to people. When the marmoset sees Johnny as a jungle gym and climbs up him like furniture, this part gets really mean. The funniest moment is when it reaches the top of his head and urinates, creating instant chaos. Was that him spitting? Did you say saliva? Johnny quipped to his staff. I've been made fun of on this show before, but never quite that badly. Joan Embry, who takes care of the baby gorillas. That's half a face. This is baby gorilla shows up and immediately treats Carson like a new best friend. It is okay to grab. When the gorilla locks on to Johnny and turns him into a toy is the funniest part. You're not going to do it, huh? Oliver is a barrel of laughs here. Carson joked, that gorilla had better stage presence than half my human guests. Jim Fowler, the reptile expert, crocodile. A crocodile. Crocodile. I was wrong, as you can see. Fowler brings out an alligator and crocodile, and turns the desk into a wildlife classroom. Carson keeps his hands close and his movements careful because one bad reach changes the night instantly. The funniest moment is Johnny trying to act casual while Fowler explains the difference. What's an alligator and a crocodile? Well, one of the things is this fourth tooth. That's a snaggle tooth if you look up here. The width of that is what matters most, though. Can you turn that jaw side of me? Yes, I'm really tight. The animals just sit there and look like they deserve what's coming to them. The comedy comes from Johnny's restraint as he's forced to behave like a nervous statue. Carson tries to make jokes, but his eyes keep going back to check where his teeth are. The audience laughs because they're watching someone professionally suppressed panic. Fowler stays calm, which makes Johnny's caution look even funnier. On the other hand, Joan Embry is an expert at dealing with double trouble. It has two heads. Take a look. That's the strangest thing I've ever seen. Thelma and Louise is the name of it. As soon as Joan pulls out a snake with two heads, the idea seems like it doesn't belong on a talk show. Carson tries to look sure of himself while keeping an eye on two heads that can move on their own. The funniest moment is watching Johnny attempt to react to one animal that can't even agree with itself on where to go. Only one of the head eats. Only one tends to eat. The other one has eaten once in a while, but the right head is usually in charge. In the wild, that would be difficult because the snakes would compete for food. So, if they were going off, they wouldn't be very good hunters. Add baby primates into the mix and the segment becomes controlled confusion with teeth. The snake alone would be enough, but Joan always believed in overwhelming the host. Carson's face changes from being interested to horrified to accepting what is happening. He decides that this part has too many moving parts, so the baby monkeys start to explore while the snake does its own thing, making a lot of chaos. Johnny has to track everything at once, which turns him into a human security system. Joan Embry, who hosts Python. This starts as a simple showcase. Then the python decides Johnny is the place to be.